So yeah, driver's corner, front driver's side corner, Mazda 5 impacted a little wall on our driveway, and the bumper lost. Fog lights gone. What else did we break? Yeah, pretty much just the bumper cover, the fog light, and then here inside the bumper is it's called an air distribution box, which is part of the air intake of the engine. And that box was also damaged. It was knocked out of its mounting brackets, and then a bunch of pieces broke off. And that's a $150 part, and I really don't want to spend that money on the car that has had its fair share of impacts with hard objects. We ordered a replacement bumper off of eBay. Comes pre-painted, so we gave them the paint coat. It's going to be painted. Probably going to have some scuffs and scratches from FedEx shipping, but I don't care. $195 including painting. That is pretty decent. So we're just going to go with that. The fog light itself actually survived. It's just the trim that's broken. That's a $30 part. And the air distribution box I can buy online, but I decided not to. It's, yeah, like I said, $150. This thing has a few damages. So here's one mounting bracket that's broken off more or less. And then here is a big air chamber that's cracked open. But fortunately, I still have the pieces that go into that hole. Here's a broken off bracket. And what else is broken? There was something else. No, I think that's it. My favorite way of repairing ABS plastic parts, I mean, some Japanese engineer has to explain to me what all those chambers and all that's supposed to do. This end goes into the bumper pretty much, or the fender, and this goes to the air filter box. And all those little cavities, and I mean, of course, it's going to dampen the intake noise. So the air rushing into the air filter, that's going to be dampened. So this is, you know, like a intake muffler, so to speak. But then why go through such a complicated, here's a little chamber, and there's a chamber, and there's a chamber. Other cars don't have that, and they are not noisy either. You know, just saying. And now my wife is driving the Mazda without this whole thing, and it's still acceptable. I'll try to fix it. I'm going to take you along while I'm stitching this together. Hold on, I'll put you in the tripod, and then we're going to continue. So first we're going to focus on the parts that I actually have. My old Radio Shack soldering iron is already hot. There are some cracks. Sometimes you have to bend and... Can you even see what I'm doing? Yeah, I guess. So you have to kind of align the bits and pieces back to their original shape. And then from there I start just stitching it back together, like poking into both sides of the crack, and that kind of melts them back together. And then once I have this whole box back together, I'm going to coat it on the outside with ABS pipe glue or pipe cement out of the plumbing section from Home Depot or whatever, the hardware store. And since this is ABS, that will melt pretty much into the material and make this all one piece again. Here's another crack, so we have to align this and then push it in shape, and then do some stitch, just so that it stays together. The ABS glue is pretty much going to do the majority of the work. This just helps me keep it in shape. So like that. And then let's see if we can maybe get this down there. I mean, it had a pretty decent impact right here on this corner, so we might have to fudge a little bit. And then, like I said, gaps and cracks and all that gets filled by ABS pipe cement. So bend, twist. And it doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to work. That's the main objective here. And you can also heat ABS with a heat gun, and then this is already holding together, and then shape it a little bit. Just be careful with your hands, heating it up, then bending around. Don't get blisters on your fingers. So you get the idea, right? So I'm gonna turn you guys off, and then I'm gonna turn it back on once we're getting to the part of ABS glue. You want to do a little bit of some prep, not much. The pipe glue is pretty aggressive, so it will eat its way into the dirty ABS, but I usually degrease it a little bit, maybe even scuff it up if I feel like it. Oh, look at this. So, and then here, in that crack. And here. That's Frankenstein putting it back together. Kind of like so. And then we have this massive hole here, and this actually all still fits together pretty well. So yeah, don't be hesitant. A lot of plastics, a lot of motorcycle and car parts are made from ABS plastic, and it can be welded and glued, and there are all kinds of methods that you can use. So now this is a little tight. Let's see if we can convince this. Now there's a little bit of an overlap here. Maybe I get a screwdriver. All right, you guys, watch the parts. Little flathead screwdriver. Here, let me zoom out a little bit. So let's see. So kind of like so. And then we're gonna grab in here. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. Spoke too early. Oh, of course, I could spend my, what is it today? Wednesday morning. Some better way. But, my wife needs her car too. She has lots of stuff going on. So, and I don't want to let her drive around in any unsafe conditions. So yesterday when it happened, didn't want to make a video out of it. She was pretty upset about it. Yeah, I got my jigsaw out and cut the loose flapping piece of bumper right off, and then took this box out that was really only flapping in the breeze there, wasn't really attached to the car anymore. And yeah, I mean, it's drivable. Nothing is gonna fall off. Make sure the bumper is securely attached. That was UPS. I don't know why I'm doing that on my driveway on the ground. I could literally be on a workbench. But the ABS melting process is pretty stinky, by the way. So I think that was my initial thought why I'm doing this outside. My goodness. Oh goodness. All right, I got this corner here in shape, more or less. So I'm just going to stitch this end together so it doesn't slide out again. I'm kind of sad that there's no Radio Shack stores anymore. You know, a place where you could actually buy some electronic components and little knickknacks when you're doing some wiring and whatnot. It's all gone now. And here in this area where I live, near Carson City, Nevada, we have no decent electronics store. Like bigger cities like Las Vegas, they have Fry's Electronics, where you can get most everything. But here in this area, there's nothing. Ooh, yeah. Good. Couple little connections. And like I said, it doesn't need to be pretty. It's going to be behind a bumper. I just don't want to have to buy it. And if I can fix this in 20 minutes, and I saved $150, I think that's worth the effort. So you get the idea. I'll pause you guys and we'll get back to you when we get to the gluing part. So now I have the bits and pieces all lined up, stitched together. I used the tip of the soldering iron to kind of cut a groove into each crack. And now I'm going to grab a little acid brush and ABS glue, and then we're going to do that. So now I have most everything on here stitched together with my soldering iron, grooved it. Here on this broken off bracket, I even grafted in a piece of plastic. You can also use paper clips to reinforce corners. You could do that. And yeah, and then pretty much, then we're at the point where you want to put some ABS glue on it. I'm gonna spray this down with brake cleaner real quick. Fresh out of brake cleaner. Let's see. Yeah, that's it, huh? Out of brake cleaner, of course. And I was at a Napa corporate store yesterday and didn't buy any. I guess then ABS glue has to do the job. So ABS glue, weld on 773 ABS from a hardware store. Then I always have a ton of those acid brushes. I just buy them as a pack of 100. Amazon, eBay, wherever you find them. They are useful for so many things. I mean, in a pinch, you can apply paint with it, but I use them for cleaning, for applying grease, applying epoxy sometimes. So you don't want to, you know, skimp on this here. I'll put a thick layer on. It will take a little while to dry, so I'll leave this thing alone for a day or two. But the thicker you put that on, the more robust the connection will be. Motorcycle parts I have fixed with this method successfully, and they're still holding together a couple years later. You know, usually on motorcycle parts from the inside where you can't see it. You can also, once this is fully hardened, you can shave it back with like a file or with some sort of grinder. Not so much. Grinder spins too fast and then it just heats up and then smears around. So a file or like shaping it with a knife or with a wood chisel. And this really, like I already said a couple times, doesn't need to be pretty. So just a nice thick smear in all the corners here. And then let's flip it over, do this side. All right, hold on. Let's take this out. Don't get it on your clothes. Don't get it on your Crocs. I don't know what material Crocs are made from, but I don't know if the ABS glue would melt them. But I'm not going to try to find out. But I'm going to try not to find out. And you can also let it sit, dry off, and then apply another layer if you feel like it's necessary. If you really want to build up some strength with this glue. No, it's not the prettiest repair method, but the inside of a car bumper or a airbox or inside of a motorcycle fairing, nobody will ever know, but the parts are actually melting together with this method because the solvent that's in this glue actually attacks the surface of the ABS part itself. And if you clean it up, scuff it up, and you wash it down with some acetone or with a brake cleaner, it probably makes a better bond or gets a better bond going, but I just don't have it right now. So, and I've seen now so many connections made with this where I didn't do major cleaning beforehand, and I'm pretty confident it's gonna survive. Once it's under the bumper, out of the way, and it's held in place by multiple brackets, not just the broken off one, but there are two more that are not broken, I think we're going to be fine. So that, I grafted that in, completely new piece of plastic. Don't want to build this up too much because there's actually a rubber grommet going in there. So we're just going to smear this around a little bit, and then maybe try to also reach it from the inside. Kind of like so. and then I later have to use a drill and drill the opening for that rubber grommet that goes in here. But I didn't want to do that beforehand. I wanted to make sure it's a solid piece before I get drilling on this. So like that. Extra stuff. Wipe that off. And I'm just gonna leave it sitting like this until it's at least dry to the touch, and then I'm gonna work on it a little more. All right, guys, that's ABS plastic repair, how I do it. First stitching with a soldering iron, and then stinky ABS glue. I hope you guys will find this useful. If you do, give me a thumbs up and maybe subscribe to my channel. Thank you.